Well, I'm back, and apparently I have enough material to not play Hearthstone, but complain about Hearthstone, and complain about people complaining about me complaining about Hearthstone, because they are dumb as it seems. They say the same thing. Actually, the real problem is... I'll show you the real problem. Oh! Oh! That is 5 seconds into the video. What's the real problem? I can't quite hear you yet. SpongeBob SquarePants, am I right? Let's fucking go. The real problem. Literally, Zeddy is complaining about Paladin, and the clip that he's showing is the first card being played as a Borkler. You first need a Borkler to have a clear board to attack your opponent. How fucking cool is that? Right? And obviously, the second thing, that it's OTK. Right? OTK potential is the second problem.
Oh.
So the problem has been, you know, showed to people. I don't know how you can say, actually, you're wrong. Like, I observed the game. I analyzed the game. I put a lot of work into this. And people rather deny than actually agree. But I understand the only vocal people are the ones triggered, basically, to type in a comment and try to figure out if whatever they say actually makes any sense. So let's figure that shit out. But first, we have to watch the entirety of Zeddy's video, which is surprising. I mean, I'm not the fucking on top of the world, and I don't have all the data. So he opens up his little thing and shows the data. For me, this is like, I mean, people are gonna be always desperate to figure out whether aggro decks work. That's the first thing they're gonna do. Like, they're gonna try and figure out aggro decks. And it is possible to beat them with tempo. The triangle is correct, by the way. Nothing needs to change. But we're gonna get all sorts of commons to, like, you know, try and tempt our way out of our way into whatever they say. Because they really want the spotlight. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to solve there by being wrong, but, I mean... everyone has their own perspectives. Everyone has their own ways to, like, cope with the madness of Hearthstone. And I've played card games to try and analyze this sort of stuff quite a bit. The reason my tempo wins against aggro is because they summon minions, and they trade efficiently, and then they heal up a little bit. You know, they have tools for that too. And eventually aggro just runs out of resources and ways to kill you, basically, because all they try to do is go face. They waste a lot of resources. They burn the shit out of themselves, and eventually tempo just gets away, crushing them, either with speed, giant minions, giant taunts, enough healing, whatever it takes. Tempo figures out how to crush aggro for sure. And now they have, you know, Borklers against aggro too. It helps. That's nice. It helps. So, people want to say mid-range. I mean, I like shorter words. If there's a word that describes mid-range in one word, I'll take that, okay? So, like, there's no confusion here. You can use your stupid mid-range. I think it's pretty stupid, though. Also, mid-range kind of symbolizes something in between of aggro and control, but then it's like, it's OTK. You know, mid-range sometimes just fucking... is OTA just like... it's weird. I understand, like, mid-range is like mid-range minions being summoned. But tempo... why tempo word actually works is because you're trying to control the board and continue developing the board while you control it. And if it gets cleared, you just, like, start all over again. You tempo all over again. Someone stopped you, you go from 0, try to build board again. But what happens when a Borkler shows up? You constantly get reset to 0 over and over and over and over again. And that fucking sucks, man. And Borklers are like brawl or sanitize, like some giant Borklers, or like something that wipes the board completely, no matter how many death rattles or divine shields you have. Like that is heartbreaking. I can technically play around it. There are tools. and I have to like discover them. But I'm like tired. I had enough of this shit where Borklers are so powerful. That's the only thing my opponent is playing against me. I like tempo. I like playing minions. I like dominating the board. And the only thing my opponent is doing is just Borkler into Borkler into Borkler into Borkler. There's no variety of control tools. Control tools consist now of Borklers because they're ridiculously good. They're insanely powerful. Holy shit. You test the power level of any card and Borklers come on top. Like, I'll tell you that much. Alright? If they're maxed out, like, if star power is maxed out, it's 15 points of damage. Obviously, it's not going to do that. It's a little bit random. But then you have a stupid warrior cards that also max out at 15 damage, and is that stupid fire spell that floods with 1/1 death rattles that buff each other. You know, it's 15 points of tempo. Used to be Scales of Onyxia with 14 points of tempo that, like, people are outraged. How dare Druid summon minions? Well, Druid doesn't have Borklers, so they kind of had to invent some of that shit. But now Warrior just gets them for free, it seems. Anyway, but seemingly, yes, guys, I'm trying to distract you with celebrities and Pinterest. Seemingly, Warrior's not doing very well because everyone is trying to do the Brand Warrior and aggro decks. Still somehow bridge the gap and attack control decks and steal the win, regardless. So a lot of people are trying to have fun with control decks. These are very expensive decks. They're trying to like flex and whatnot. But it's not working out. Aggro is still on top. And Zeddy is telling that kind of story. Like, well, Borklers are not even working. Funny enough. Borklers are not even doing anything to try and stop these two classes, including Warlock. All of these are just aggro nonsense, basically. So technically, I should come back to the game. Like, this is the best reason for me to come back to the game and figure out how to fucking beat their asses, right? Because I can sort of do that, but these are like very powerful decks in general. Somehow, aggro classes now generate a lot of tempo too. Because like Warlock, deal 4 with a 3-mana spell that can be destroyed in any way you want. Like, it's gonna clear my board. It's gonna be its own Borkler, funny enough. Even if it doesn't go phase. So that one is fucking scary, to be honest. Maybe it's like a tempo deck, in a way. But it's a really weird one. The sludge one, it kind of scared the shit out of me when I saw it. And I don't try to play meta decks. I don't try to, like, climb that much. Yeah, I could probably take the best deck and climb in one day to Legends, and all of a sudden people will not recognize whether I am a good player or not. They just see Platinum 5 and they start fucking, well, let's say just judging me for it, for being at Platinum. As if it's some kind of achievement to get Legend anymore. I don't think it is. It's just a grind for most people. But, you have to, like, bridge a lot of gaps to just have a conversation. This stuff is difficult, and you must understand, if we're having a conversation, that's an achievement of its own. A game can do that, but a real world's hardly. Do you guys want to talk about politics for a conversation? So we have to appreciate it and try not to, like, rage bait people into caring about you just because you think I'm wrong. How the fuck do you start a comment like that? Like, it's kind of weird. We're gonna view a lot of comments like that. It's insane, bro. But the real problem, that's the one, like, that fucking triggers me now. That's fucking skull emoji to me. Technically, the real problem is not as triggering, because the real problem could mean that there is a higher priority target to look after. And I'll try to talk about it. But again, tempo just simply can't exist and defeat aggro People don't even know how tempo works and what it's supposed to do. And tempo is like, has the suicide button. You know, tempo kills itself. Like, control obviously is supposed to kill tempo. That is a normal thing. But it also just kills itself with Borklers constantly. So even tempo decks themselves run a lot of Borklers and make the game kind of fucking stupid. Technically, yes, Paladin runs 2 Borklers, and almost every class except for Rogue has 2 Borklers. Rogue doesn't have Borklers, and Druid has board fills. It fills the board. So, just a recap. It is very complicated, but like, yeah, people are even denying the triangle itself when it has... I figured it out, you know, like I figure out 100%. I don't know where you get the data from, but I just kind of like figured it out. It's very simple. And aggro decks are always trying to output a lot of damage, and the best way in card games to deal with minions is with bigger minions, with other more efficient minions. Aggro just doesn't care that much about stats. It just tries to have as much attack reach your face as quickly as possible. It runs 1 drops, 2 drops, 3 drops, right? But we're going to analyze a lot more. Apparently people need education more than they need gameplay. So I'll try to do that. Obviously, I probably will stop clickbaiting people, so we're not going to get many views, but I'll still continue trying to move forward, and maybe we'll collect enough reasons for me to come back to the game. Who knows? I am collecting subscribers, funny enough, even though my channel indicates that Hearthstone is not really that big of a deal for me in my life anymore. But yeah, let's educate ourselves. Let's see what Zeddy has to say. But mainly what he said at the start of the video is that Paladin... this is actually mid-range because they run Borklers. If you're running Borklers, technically, it makes sense that you are tempo deck. Technically. And Sludge is also borderline tempo deck. How do you define a tempo versus aggro? It depends on the Borklers. That is the definition of a tempo deck. It runs Borklers to try and counter your shit, basically. And usually they're countering like Tree and Druid, and the cards are just like very efficient. So yeah, I think Mining Paladin does run Borklers and Sludge Warlock. By default, dealing a lot of damage to the board will clear the board. Like, it's just a no-brainer. So if you're summoning minions, actually Sludge Warlock efficiently will remove them. Very interesting stuff.
Aggressive.
Plague DK also borderline tempo running Borklers. They have 2, and then the Giant is very cheap and turns into a Borkler, basically. I'm not sure what else, however. But this stuff also pisses me off. Just a 4-mana one is disgustingly powerful. But actually, Plague DK, I would play against that deck. I would prefer this shit over most of the stuff. So I'm fine with this. The other thing, yeah, they also resummon Rush minions with the Excavate rewards. And they reset the game as well. They have another exclusive fucking power-crept idea of resetting the game. So you're making progress, you're dealing damage to your opponent's health total, and it just, poof, all your progress is gone. And you never really know when that's going to happen. But with Excavate, you sort of know, and sort of is still very cringe, because Lifesteal is way too powerful. Lifesteal is also a problem, but I try to, like, not worry about it, because if you can develop tempo, you can win in 2 turns. The moment you win the board in 2 turns, you just win. So, but they reset the game. They summon a Rush minion, bam, bam, your board is cleared, and they have healed for 16. That sort of shit is, like, Borklers that also reset the game, that is like next level Borkler, to be honest. That fucking blows my mind entirely. I don't even know what to say about this. It's a combination of these two things, completely obliterating tempo, or anything for that matter. But mostly tempo, because I lose minions and they reset the game, and it kind of happens more late game, right? It's not within aggro bounds. Aggro operates from turn 1 to turn 7 max, right? If they don't win, it's kind of pretty obvious that they have to just move on to someone else, basically. To bother someone else. Yeah, this video might last for an hour this time. Let's double check Mining Paladin. Borklers, or this is aggro. Is it aggro? Like, I already see the basic cards, really. So, they don't actually run more Borklers. They used to run the thing that pissed me off. But actually, they still run 3, right? This is also a very, 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 very efficient nonsense that would flip the shit out of me. Like, these cards are insane. It's crazy. And obviously, the board's buffs, like Amethyst, is also kind of fucking broken. Garden's Grace, also broken. Yes, the power creep is also a big problem. But these cards are absolutely insane. And to put them like in a slash aggro deck, kind of. It's technically still tempo, but it's slash aggro. So what, it counters tempo too? Am I actually wrong about something? Are aggro decks like countering tempo decks instead? Is that what's going on? Is that the bridge being cut off? Because I given you like this thing, you know, we cut this part off and be like, well, you can't win with aggro. What if this is true? What if it cuts off circulation of tempo because it just counters that shit? Oh, you're playing tempo, let me just play a few Borklers and you'll disappear, alright? Let the aggro finish the game, thank you very much. That could be the case. That could be the case. But it still doesn't make much sense of what's going on. I just know that Triangle is correct, but the way to talk about these token things and what they mean, this is a next level, you know, logic puzzle. So it does feel like it's more of an aggressive deck that's trying to enable Borklers. But, I mean, it has to be tempo, technically. I'll still call it tempo deck. It's trying to... I mean, just because they have aggressive cards and they want to, like, stick on the board doesn't mean it's an aggressive deck, so to speak. Because an aggressive deck means that they have many buffs like these. This is only 3 cards, technically. And that's it. That's where it ends. They have to have many more things like that that explode the board. And that's not enough. Like, what I'm talking about is the aura effects. They don't even run aura effects? That's kind of crazy. I'm still, like, surprised they don't run auras. Like, what the fuck? How do you run an aggro deck without auras? This is the first thing that would come to my mind. So they're trying to... Yeah, Crusader's aura. That's a more aggro approach. Okay. That one makes sense. And they don't run Borklers. Now that's an aggro. That's, now you can see it. It's very easy to understand. This is definitely an aggro because it runs both auras. Yes, it runs this Borkler because it's ridiculously efficient and consistent, seemingly enough. That's an aggro now. So there's a tempo mining Paladin and there's an aggro version. which makes things very fucking confusing, I understand. But you can slide from this position to that position fairly easily. It's not a big deal. And you can slide to control sometimes. From tempo deck to control. You just have to beef up your deck a little bit with special cards. So that makes sense. Also, Zeddy immediately says that he doesn't love playing standard these days. And that's also a very big indication, like, he doesn't understand what's going on. He's just looking at data, he's just reporting what he sees. I'm trying to dig deeper. I'm trying to actually analyze the core issue of the game. And right now we're still in the stage of, like, figuring things out, but Borkler being the dominant problem, I think it's undeniable that you have played minions and they just disappear. That is illegal, bro. That's something that, again, at least Elder Scrolls Legends doesn't do to me. And people say Legends of Runeterra also doesn't do that. Which I probably agree. I don't know about MTG, but what people say, MTG have Borklers, that is a weird thing to me. Because I haven't noticed that. But I also don't play MTG and I don't fucking like it. Have Yu-Gi-Oh had Borklers? Man, let's not talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, because that one's weird. That card game is weird. Like, when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I didn't see Borklers, to be honest. Because there's so many Yu-Gi-Oh versions to choose from, so you're always gonna like the one that doesn't just make you cheat and do weird things. And also, what kind of board are you destroying with Yu-Gi-Oh? You're just, like, removing 2 cards at a time or something. It's a completely different game. So I received a comment like that as well. Should we? Yeah, someone doesn't even know what the Borkler is. Yeah, it's a Borkler. Alright. This comment doesn't matter. The real problem is that decks are forced to include more Borklers. And now he replied, it's like you just had a brawl played against you for the first time in your life. Oh my god. Board buffing is far more overpowered at the moment. Yes, board buffs are also, like, super cheap, super powerful. They're not supposed to cost 0 mana or be triple Savage Roar style. I understand. That shit also triggers the shit out of me. But with tempo, you can manipulate your opponent's board so it doesn't get out of control, right? With tempo, you can figure shit out, bro. Obviously, it is even a question for me, like, how does tempo beats aggro? Like, exactly. Like, you have to see it to believe it. That's sort of the vibe right now. Trying to pass turn 4 without a board. Again, some people just don't know that you can play minions sometimes yourself. When I play against control, I mean, the only thing they do is a Borkler, because that's the most efficient way to deal with your opponent's board. That's the most efficient way to control things. Normally, back in the day, there was a handlock. You know, it summoned a giant, and it doesn't actually need to control, just has to threaten the opponent. And then all of a sudden, the giant gets taunt. That was the style of control. They didn't just play a bunch of Borklers, they just, you know, spam giants a little bit. Because Borklers back in the day weren't that actually powerful or abundant as they are right now. It's just like, I'm bored. I am bored of the same thing over and over again, being ridiculously efficient at destroying everything I do. You can't leave them with minions. That's how you remove minions, with Borklers. They play 2 minions and you have to play a Borkler. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? This guy's logic is, like, legendary. You know, now you're scared of, like, having 2 minions on the board. You can't leave a minion, guys. The way to not leave a minion is a Borkler. Instead of removal, you use a Borkler, actually. Like, what the fuck are we talking about anymore? Borklers are supposed to do everything? Like, what? Borklers are supposed to allow control decks to beat aggro decks now? I don't think so, bro. It's just not how it works. Borklers can supplement tempo decks to beat aggro decks, but control decks beating aggro decks, I mean, now you're tripping balls, unfortunately. All the buffs, all that he's talking about, he's referring control decks trying to beat aggro decks, and he's failing miserably, and his brain cell is obsolete. So the appropriate reply is, stop trying to control aggro decks. LOL. What is... I swear, like, this is a whole nother next level meme of, oh, you've played minions. You have played 2 minions. Borkler, I can't let any minion survive because you're gonna buff it with +5/+5. Of course, these buffs costing 0 mana is incredibly fucking weird. But you can still beat that with tempo decks. It is still rock, paper, scissors. It's a little bit boring. And with power creep also, there's less flexibility, I feel like. Like, these are very, very prominent cards. They're, like, bleeding my eyes out the more they are printed. And technically, yes, the bigger issue is the power creep. I would consider that the bigger problem. Simply because these are like red areas. The more of these cards you print, the more broken the game actually is. Because now these are obvious win conditions. It's obvious what aggro has to do to win. It's obvious what tempo has to do to win. And it's obvious what control has to do to win. These are the super obvious things. You just play this and that, and you blow up your opponent. It's too obvious. The power creep is too strong on these specific cards, and they're way too playable. The win conditions are way too powerful. I can agree with that. I'm personally on this channel, I can't play the game, and I quit because of Borklers, specifically. Everything else I can sort of like deal with. You know, I don't see that many Ignis to run Viper, or yes, I do see Odin, and it pisses me off. But what can you do about it? I don't care. I just like, well, I guess I just concede to Warrior or something. And then all of a sudden, everything else is sort of playable. But when it comes to Borklers, like, it just does tempo suicide every single time. It removes all the fucking big minions or small minions, whatever you can come up with. But anyways.
Earthen Paladin is pretty aggressive.
Again, it's just wrong to say that. And Zeddy is wrong, because people are even calling tempo mid-range. It's not evolving the conversation over here. Over here, the conversation is not happening. Alright? Mana cheating has been touched a little bit, and people sort of understand it's kind of weird. But mana cheating is probably worse than you think. You know, mana cheating all sorts of cards right now is pretty crazy. Like, for the rest of the game, cards are also effectively mana cheating. For the rest of the game, you are much more powerful now. All of a sudden. So you're mana cheating forever. Wow. You gotta be careful with that shit. And Odin definitely breaks that, stuff. Not only Odin mana cheats, but also allows you to reset the game while you're mana cheating damage into your opponent's face. It's so weird. It's a really weird card that people try to defend somehow. It's crazy. Like, power creep is a problem because, like, some cards are more powerful than others. That is the actual problem. Power creep is not about power level of everything rising, but power level of certain cards rising. Certain cards that make the game stale and boring because there's less and less playable cards. That's the problem with power creep.
Where's Highlander?
Control decks are very difficult to master and build. Right now, they're always going to be in the bottom, below 50%. They're just naturally going to be there, unfortunately, for them. All right? But eventually, once people figure out what are the most efficient tools, the control decks should rise as well and counter a few decks here and there. It's not a big deal. So whatever he's talking about, it's actually like inconsistent data. I wouldn't rely. This is just a cool meme that everyone is playing after all. So, you know, it's gonna pull the win rate down. So I don't think this is relevant to talk about. And technically, the metagame could be fair. You know, just like life could be fair, but you're gonna go to jail for, you know, drinking in public, drinking water in public, for example. That's power creep of just law enforcement, for example. It's still fair because everyone has to follow the same rule. So, you know, again, my problem is not climbing the ladder. My problem is having fun, having a variety of decks, and that shit is impossible, bro. Holy crap. So, I see this as completely fair. Like, control decks are supposed to struggle right now, and it's not about aggro being not being the metagame. It's always going to be the metagame. Aggro decks are very easy to build, and control decks are very complicated to build. It's just how it goes.
Look at the...
And you shouldn't expect to just play one card with a control deck and all of a sudden start winning games because you played one card. You can't expect to win with even Borklers, apparently. You can't expect to win. That's kind of weird. But that was always the case. That was always confusing me of like, okay, I hate Borklers very much, but those are not the classes that are dominating. Not the ones that have all the Borklers. In fact, Priest and Mage are down there. Even Demon Hunter could play Borklers to be able to, like, do something, but apparently it's not good enough. So, I'm not even complaining about the thing that's dominating the game, but it still kind of is. You know, it's still the power level of Borklers, of precisely played Borklers at this precise time to wipe your entire board of like 20 points of temp or 15. That shit you can't recover from, man. That fucking hits you in the face, bro. That fucking breaks you in half. So precisely played Borklers are the ones that pretty much hurts. And again, yes, Warrior can play Brawl, but now it seems like everyone can play a Borkler that is going to destroy the shit out of you. Everyone. Brawl is kind of like infinite damage Borkler, but like there's only so much damage that you need to clear the board very consistently. So almost everyone is getting Brawls right now, and I'm like, we have to fucking stop that. Like, Brawl was the most boring-ass card, but the moment Warrior plays 2 Brawls, you know, you just go all in and you fucking crush the Warrior. You know, you take revenge for all the fallen people of all the Brawls, you know. But now it's impossible, bro. It's impossible. After 2 Brawls, there's 2 more Brawls and 2 more Brawls after that. It's impossible to win against these decks with pure tempo alone. Maybe you have to change your strategies. I haven't figured that shit out. Maybe you are not allowed to play more than 2 minions. I haven't figured that shit out. Maybe Reno is correct. You know, the Highlander Reno is correct. Now you get 1 board space. But when I'm gone, you have 3 board spaces. There's no such thing as 7 board spaces. What the fuck are you talking about? And that sentence that Reno would say to me, imaginary Reno, you know, let's imagine Reno exists, but through game design, it says like, oh, you can only play 1 minion right now. All right, I cleared your board and like, please just play 1 minion. Don't overcommit or whatever. Maybe he's being nice to us, actually, you know. I still don't fucking like Reno because it clears my initial board. It just poofs us out of existence. Even like Reno design is like stupid. It's just like everything disappears. Oh wow. But it is now illegal to play more than 3 minions. It's illegal. It's something you're not supposed to be doing anymore. That's the rule. And I'm kind of like realizing that. But like, how do you do that? I still don't understand. How do you do that though? Are you supposed to like be drawing cards, having a lot of card draw and just still playing 3 minions? What is the way to do that? I want you guys in the comments, instead of trying to prove what the fuck is wrong with my arguments and like trying to say that I'm just I'm missing some kind of pieces. I said something wrong, even though I just said a few things. I don't like Borkler's here's the triangle, Triforce, that works exactly the way that I described, in no other way. Trust me, guys. There's no other way, man. You can't break the Triforce. You can't break water beats fire and fire beats earth or whatever. You can't beat those things, man. There are 4 elements, however, but with rock, paper, scissors, we have decided it's 3. So I use that, the Triforce. There is combo somewhere, but I decided that it's going to be here. That it's not, like, overdeveloped. Combos are, like, they're not, like, generally found in this card game, in Hearthstone. So I was only able to do the triangle, and technically these are the combos. You know, the Triforce contains, like, the missing piece, right? So these are the combo decks that can win against maybe everyone else, because they have secret weapons against every other deck. It's the combo decks. So there's actually a lot of reasons for me to come back and try and answer a lot of questions here and explore a little bit deeper. But those reasons are not coming from the comment section, unfortunately. They just piss me off. And it's normal. I'm used to that shit now. So yeah, in the comments, if you're a nice person, maybe try and figure out the puzzle. How do you play just 3 minions? But technically, it kind of pisses me off personally. I feel like you just have to vomit your hands onto the board. And maybe I'm just wrong about that, you know? Maybe you're not supposed to play that way anymore. But it's kind of stupid, like the warrior spell, the fire spell, for 6 mana. To summon 15 points of tempo. Like, that fucking pisses me off to a whole nother level. It's a Borkler, and it's power crept, and it's unbelievably powerful because it has rush and all that crap. So it clears your board and there's something stuck on the board afterwards. I can't fucking fathom that power level, but apparently warrior is not a thing right now. So I am sometimes confused of like, is this safe? Are these waters safe right now? Can I actually swim in it? But you double check how many Borklers are being played and how efficient they are. And yeah, these are pretty fucking good. 2 decks that are right now dominating, they have very efficient stuff to clear the shit out of you. But it depends, like, again, there's different types of mining paladins, apparently. So it doesn't actually explain itself. The Sludge Warlock does explain itself, but not the mining paladin. And I don't like Plague Decay, to be honest. Plague Decay is just fucking weird. It's a weird tempo deck, I swear. And if I want to just draw cards and play a small amount of minions, they actually, like, it's a tempo control deck. So it's willing to reset the game, it's willing to, like, wait a long time. You know, it can shift to control because you can't overdraw too many cards. That one's very interesting to me. So we have actually a variety of decks. So that's nice. So whoever is still playing Hearthstone, I mean, you can still probably have fun here. I don't like meta decks, to be honest. Again, I'm trying to find a variety of things to do. And I can't do that. I can't find it anymore. Maybe Hearthstone has just released the most boring expansion as well. but also has released an Excavate Borkler. And that Excavate Borkler breaks my bones, bro. 2 damage. Borkler. Oh my god. There's another Excavate Borkler that you just pretty much get for free. And now all of a sudden every class has Borklers except for Druids. You know, even Rogue now has Borklers too. With that fucking Excavate treasure. So now you're just like, whoa, there's no identity left. The Borklers are very powerful if you just give them for free to everyone who just excavates a little bit. That's pretty fucking scary. The only way is to join the evil forces and start excavating yourself. You know, it's the only way out. Because that stupid thing, the 1-2 can be cleared by the other 1-2. So you just counter by the counter. You generate a bunch of Borklers yourself. There are some kind of fancy ways to actually play the game. Once you understand the full extent of what's going on. It is very confusing though. Absolutely. So I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to run at full speed just to understand what's going on. And these people who say that I'm wrong kind of slow me down a little bit. I couldn't even give you guys all the comments, like the video is ending.
More diversity. Tree Intruded, Sludge Warlock, it's the same decks, just a slightly different order. But if you look for high...
No, it's hard to tell, but he didn't say anything special here.
1,000.
Again, whatever Zeddy's talking about, Control Warrior, you have to collect a lot of data to be able to build a control deck. Because control decks are looking for cards that are the most efficient, the most powerful ones to counter your opponent's value that they're trying to put on the board. And usually it works out. Usually with Borklers, you can actually pull off a good control deck. So that's nice. There's still a lot of things to look forward to. And I'll keep up with the channels themselves to pick up ideas of like what's going on in Hearthstone. But there's too many problems for me to like actually enjoy the game. And I would rather make my own game. Alright.
Top 1,000 Legend. It's a little bit of a...
It feels like in Top 1,000 Legend, people just find Nirvana. Like they find some kind of like completely different metagame up there. So that's the initial feeling I have reacting to this. Aggro what the fuck is Demon Hunter doing up here? Holy jeez, what? What the fuck is this shit, man? The lowest class is actually... What the hell is going on? I'm telling you guys, there's a fucking Nirvana up in Top 1,000 Legend. People have figured out something that I don't even comprehend anymore. If we look at these cards, I can't actually see anything. Fuck me, bro. Yeah, it's the sharpshooter deck, technically, I believe.
What's happened?
Okay, so it does make sense. You playing not the sharpshooter. Was it always like that? No, it's the same name. Okay, so yeah, okay, and fuck. Yeah, you confused the shit out of me. And you can feel that like most people would do the same mistakes, like getting into conclusions too fast. And pretending that I'm wrong somehow. You gotta be very careful with this shit. You have to put in the work. Just because you can type in a comment that seems that it contradicts whatever I said, doesn't mean it does. But okay, we put in the work, and of course I'm not supposed to even care about the comments that much. I just reply, right? I counter their counter. That's just what I have to do. So probably we're not... I want to read one comment though, out loud. You're missing the main problem. There's a dude that said this. Alright, so we're gonna read this whole thing and then finish the video.
Mildred, which is like one of the most toxic play patterns because of that card.
Zeddy has to shut up about due process, man. It's a fine card. It's like, it's not that toxic. I'm sorry, I don't understand this. Alright. Yes, control decks fear this card, but even they can beat it. Beat it somehow. So, I don't know, man. It's always cringe when he brings that shit up to me. Like, what the hell? Especially when due process exists in the class that doesn't know how to clear the board. So that's... I mean, I'll take it, bro. I'll take it. Due process in the class that does clear the board consistently, that would be fucking scary as hell, to be honest. Because then you're burning cards, and you have nothing to do with those cards in your hand, because they're just gonna get cleared anyways. Now that's fucking scary. But Druid having due process, I don't give a fuck, to be honest.
Non-games.
Yeah, because of the power level of win conditions, I think. Non-games, boys.
Games just feel like non-games, like either get murdered fast or scammed or whatever. Just doesn't feel like a lot of great stuff. And
yeah. It's weird for him to say that because it's not precise or specific, right? He's not pointing out a problem. It's very difficult to actually do that when the decks don't seem to have a pattern to them, right? And at very least, they're not fun, like getting OTK'd with an aggro deck. But actually, like, these are fine. These are fine. The three on top, they're actually kind of fine decks. It feels pretty weird playing against them, but actually, these are fine. These are actually wind elements dominating right now. There's Rogue over here, mana cheating a bunch. There is the Reset the Game Plague DK, with a few Borklers, but technically the Reset the Game aspect is pretty strong. And the control aspects. And the Reset the Game actually happens from a few plagues, right? You get a few tempo, but you also get a little bit of health. You slow things down, so that also helps. And then Aggro Demon Hunter just happens to be an aggro OTK, so it belongs here. What's dominating a top 1000 legend are actually wind decks. Also, I didn't explain the elements if I wanted to. I will call it winds because I don't know how to call it. These are like edgy decks, so to speak. Very edgy decks, and it's kind of funny. Like, they do find Nirvana in that case. They find like the most fun decks actually in top 1000. Would it be interesting to actually reach that place and experience it? Maybe, actually. I don't know. Actually, I'm like... I gathered so many reasons to play the game by watching slight zeddy rants. I actually finding more reasons to play the game than hate it. So yeah, these three decks actually fascinate me. We could pick one of them and like try it out. I just don't like copying and pasting shit in my through Hearthstone. It feels like there's not a lot of effort doing that. But maybe that's the case. Maybe I have to submit to the metagame this one time, because when the wind is winning, maybe it's more fun than I think. So this is very interesting to me. Holy shit. We're reinstalling Hearthstone.
For a month where this is not, to me, a very appealing meta of like pure aggro, non-interactive, like, you know, OTK stuff from like aggro Demon Hunter.
Damn, I'm on the edge of actually reinstalling Hearthstone. Zeddy is always fucking stupid and wrong, man. I want to hear this part. This part is like the biggest one.
Of like pure aggro, non-interactive.
How is Mining Rogue pure aggro? What? Mining Rogue is pure aggro? Okay.
Interactive, like, you know, OTK stuff from like aggro Demon Hunter.
Non-interactive. Yes, it's pretty interactive. You just have to have a big board. They don't have board clears. The fucking DH doesn't have a board clear. Yes, it can get out of control, but it's actually kind of rare, I think. So that's cool. He said 2 wrong things in a row, I think. it's not interactive, but it's also kind of random. Like, it's an all-in. Like, when you assemble all Exodia pieces, you win, and that's sort of the OTK example, right? Like, it's just what happens. So it's not interactive, but only when you get busted. There is Thaddeus Warlock. Yeah, apparently it exists in the Nirvana section of the game.
Infinite random crap from Rogue. Plagues, I don't think...
Yeah, that is... The Plague Death Knight is random and weird, but it's beatable. I've beaten it many times, and it's not the most disgusting thing ever. The most disgusting card of Plague Death Knight is the Giant. Alright, not even the Plagues, not even the Reska, whatever, it's the Giants. It's the 3-mana Giant Rush minion that just obliterates your board. To counter these decks is not impossible. You have to play high health minions. You have to rat out the Mining Rogue win condition, because they're trying to Shadow Step it over and over again. You try to just play Steam Cleaner. You can actually counter these decks. Wow. In top 1000 Legends. But we still first have to reach it. Should I do a Scott Pilgrim moment and, like, climb to top 1000 Legend to prove people that I'm not a fucking fart? Should we just start grinding? And also, this is a good reason on its own of, like, him highlighting the actual top 1000 Legend decks. Normally, you don't get that data at all. And this is very important. Only best of the best players can play this shit. And I'm probably best of the best of the best of the best, and I never really fucking flexed that on other people, and that's a good reason to try, at least.
To me,
yeah, but, like, not only that, but it is Nirvana simply because these decks don't run that many Borklers. Or that crazy cards. Reset the game is annoying, and Mining Rogue can discover a bunch of Borklers. But it's actually kind of fine up here. They reach Nirvana, like, they don't even have to deal with this shit that I am complaining about. I mean, I'm being teased so hard by top legends, something that I've never reached before because I always try to build my own decks. You know, I just try to do my own thing. Play with my own Legos, basically. But I guess I have to join the, you know, the gang. Just to see what happens. Just to see what people say. How about that, right? I enjoyed Train Druid, Sludge Warlock, maybe Mill Druid a little bit less, but less Mining Paladin. Like, if you go down a little bit in the win rate, now the decks are kind of, like, toxic and shitty. Arcane Hunter and Thaddeus Warlock, I just don't know. Aggro Paladin's pretty shitty. But the top 3 decks are kind of interesting to me.
Right now, it's, again, I think the play rate on the deck will continue to drop.
Well, we can make a bet for it. I think it's supposed to rise because, again, it's a control deck. However, like, Bran Warlock Bran Warrior specifically, there's not many ways you can, like, improve the deck, but you still... Well, technically, maybe there are many ways. Because you have to play a variety of cards, too. So you have to know every single card in the game, pretty much, because everything matters. I don't know, man. I'm not convinced that it's just gonna keep going down. Control is just very difficult to master and build and do all these things. But these are, like, kind of like simple decks that are very powerful and belong in a very weird category that you don't actually see most of the time. OTKs, look, but that's just what normally happens in top 1000 Legends. At least the OTK stuff definitely happens. I'm not sure about the rest of the stuff. Because Mining Road seems like kind of like a very weird deck. I don't know, man. But I get to observe this stuff and kind of changes my mind a little bit.
Buffs everything up. Like, this card came out.
You don't win with the dragon? Are you sure about that? Yeah, if you playing against control decks with aggro, you don't need this. But the moment your board gets cleared enough times, and extends the game. All of a sudden, you will need the dragon. Why not?
That are just outright ridiculous. First is Sir Finley, the Intrepid, a one-sided mass polymorph. This is such an insane tool for an aggressive deck to have.
Wrong. Yeah, like, it's not an aggro card, unfortunately. You still have to excavate, so it takes time. It's not an aggro deck. It's some tempo deck that he's highlighting. But he is correct, though. This can be used as an aggro deck, card. Because this card goes through taunts. It's like silence your opponent's minions at the same time. That's a big deal. Silence is an aggro effect, while Borkler is not. So this is a very interesting card, actually. This kind of does lean on to, like, aggressive counter of tempo. Alright, cool.
We're gonna...
Technically, if I hate Hearthstone, I can try playing meta decks in general, so... Yeah, bro, like...
Great day, and stay tuned for that gameplay video later today.
What? I still have enough resources to burn to build all the top meta decks. So maybe we can try it and see what happens then. Because I know these decks are like fine and they're not gonna make a lot of problems. Maybe I'm just like stuck in a play pattern of doing the same thing over and over again myself, and I get the same kind of treatment basically out of the game. Fine. Let's read that comment, maybe. Really quickly. Lack of resource management. I sort of agree with this. But to deny that my problem is not actually a problem is fucking annoying, to be honest. Actually, healthy aggro deck, yes. Shit like that's supposed to run out of resources, whatever, right? Trying to deal with aggro is giving a better Borklers, which actually a bad idea. The way you want to limit power levels of aggro is by making it so they run out of gas around turn 5. Sort of understandable, yes. But instead of doing that, they keep printing early game cards that keep generating value. I don't understand where you get that. Things don't just keep generating value. But the one drop that gives you a card draw is kind of cringe, but it's just like, I can accept that. It's acceptable as a card. It's not kind of that crazy. And you sort of have to play it in almost most of the decks, most tempo aggro decks, that stupid one drop. That kind of is kind of cringe, actually. You can't have control decks deal with aggro decks with an AoE card because it breaks the balance. Aggro decks should be beaten by resource management, and too many AoE cards makes it so aggro needs to generate more value, and it's a vicious cycle. Well, then you just said the thing. Borklers kind of make the resource management a lot worse, because you just successfully play one card, and you do a lot of damage to your opponent with a Borkler. You played one card, and you reset a lot of the progress. A lot of value just gone and wasted. And if you don't draw the Borkler, then you're a lot worse, actually. So this is a little bit weird. I don't understand where he's going with this. I do understand, however, that aggro and almost every single other deck has so much value generation in a way that they never run out of cards anymore. And that's just kind of like nostalgia of past of how Hearthstone used to work, that you do run out of resources. I mean, well, we're past that point, unfortunately, and I'm glad, because running out of resources kind of makes the game fucking stupid. Now, running out of resources because you have been cleared a bunch of times, that's annoying. But it is stupid when you run out of cards. I think that's a stupid idea. It works in Elder Scrolls Legends because you draw cards if you take damage. So there's a way to draw cards, and it's not too invasive. But in Hearthstone, it doesn't work if you run out of cards. The game just becomes, like, very stupid. Where you play one card at a time and you're hoping to top deck and all that shit. Kripparrian had to suffer through that a lot during Arena. Like, just top decking shit. That breaks the game. Now you just don't really run out of cards, neither in Arena nor in Standard. So I actually appreciate that fact. No card should give you +1 card. It's kind of weird. It's kind of fucking weird. Even if it's... That is a very weird thing to say. I feel like we should just end it there. Shouldn't be AoE under 4 mana. That's probably true, but that's also weird. Like, the AoE power creep is exponentially worse. If there's a 4 mana AoE that deals 2 damage, I can understand. 3 mana deal 2 damage. Okay, it's kind of cringe. Now it can deal at least 6 on average. If there's a 3 mana card that deals 3 damage now we're talking about a card that's really breaking the game. Because now a 3 mana card can generate 9 or more points of tempo. That is crazy, bro. AoEs scale in power level the most, and they're the hardest ones to, like, catch off guard. Of, like, whether they're really powerful or not. But they just are. 3... Lastly, there needs to be better low mana taunt minions. Oh yeah, taunt minions are insanely useful for the game. That pisses me off that there's not enough taunt minions, but it is what it is. You have to improvise. Fucking sucks, but yeah, it does work against aggro. This is true. The lowest cost taunt minion right now is a 4 mana 7/7. That's a fucking meme, but that's the one you have to play. It annoys me that 4 mana 7/7 is the answer, technically, because it's an expensive card. 4 mana, it could be like a 3 mana 5/5 taunt. That would be kind of weak. It has to have more health, but that's my answer to it, usually. 3 mana 2, 6 heals to fall if it doesn't die, blah, blah, blah. Understandable. Yeah. Needs to be nerfed because too many minions have rush. I think it's fine. I don't think people play a lot of rush minions nowadays. I don't worry about it. This is a lot better to have rush minions, proactive minions as well. This guy just hates card games, bro. Rush is fine. Rush is interactive. Running out of cards is not interactive either. So, he just fucking hates card games, bro. They make it so that you can get back tempo easily because blah, blah, blah. You have to beat the board. But you also have to beat the rush stuff in hand. I do hate the facts. But this is a Borkler fact. A Borkler comes out of hand. You can't play around it because it just slams out of hand instantly. Your opponent answers instantly. The only thing you can do is constantly think about what kind of Borkler you're playing around. So what kind of level. You have to know every single Borkler and how you're playing around that shit. It's a little bit annoying, but it's kind of, you know, part of the strategy now, if you want to accept it and climb. So, no, rush minions are not the problem. I am okay with rush minions, bro. Okay. I mean, I'm okay him bringing up a lot of random stuff that he cares about, so... let's look at it that way. The most important part, guys. I don't think you understand what is supposed to have the edge over what. No, it's not 3-way. Well, I put it into 3 ways and it works flawlessly from my perspective, unfortunately. It is actually 4-way rock, paper. What? Against control. Actually don't have set inter... What the fuck, man? Come... What? Are you sure about that? Are you sure? Then why is control dying right now? Like, cards are very aggressive, very powerful. Why is control below 50% right now? At the start of this new meta game. Explain that to me, at least. At least that. No, I disagree. We have to propose something better. So let's see if he does that. Combo decks are supposed to beat control. Yes, I actually used to think that way. But there's no way to build combo decks in this fucking game. Are you fucking kidding me? Combo decks? You think they're popular? No. The combo deck on top 1000 legend, that's the highest rank, and farming control decks right now. It is combo deck. It does beat control even more, so technically this thing helps counter, right? This is how it works. Like, this stuff counters... Okay, this stuff counters that. So it does improve, actually, my triangle. It says that these combined sometimes powers and counter. They go like this, right? So that does that work? Mana cheating beats aggro? I think so. Mana cheating kind of lets you set up the board despite aggro opponent like killing your stuff, but then you mana cheat something out to be able to still fight for the board, right? Out of nowhere, out of 0 points of tempo on your board. Okay. Aggro is supposed to beat combo decks. I mean, I guess you can say that too, if you want. If it's too specific, it sort of beats that. Control can beat mana health resets because control doesn't go for health anyways. And tempo beats mana cheating. I can accept that too. Okay. So we're doing that. We're going a very clockwise motion. These are unpopular decks, these ones. But there's more of them. There's 3 of them instead of, like, the generic ones, right? The fucking Triforce. We assembling, guys. The reason this paradigm is crumbling is that they are trying to demolish combo decks, and they have been for a long time. No, that's not true. OTKs are not combo decks. Alright? You're not supposed to win in 1 turn. You're supposed to deal a lot of damage in 1 turn. A lot of damage. Not 30 damage, but a lot of damage. Okay, to finish your opponent. That's the whole point. So, yes, I understand this is a misconception. And it makes it so that control doesn't really have a counter. But one other... No, they usually do have a counter. They run the fucking stupid... trade the card. You know, so they steal your combo cards. Potentially, sometimes. Alright. But hopefully you're not complaining about Thaddeus Druid. I mean, Thaddeus Warrior, you know, Warlock. God damn it, bro. There's so much data that my brain is now malfunctioning. I just want to finish the video. Got it mid-range, quiet, doesn't have competition. I only have 2 decks left, and one is eventually... But yeah, like, he's right about aggro beating OTK decks. That's like a normal thing that happens. Right? But not necessarily, you know. It's a little bit of a weak link, but it's the usual of what you would expect. If you lean too much to OTK, you're probably not going to win against aggro, but it's a weak link. It's possible. Because you still have to build it on a shell, and usually you're gonna build an aggro shell into an OTK. That's what it has been done. Okay, so what else do we have? One is eventually show that it has a better win rate in that matchup, even if it's slight. I don't know what he's referring to be honest. The solution is not the above changes, but also to make it that combo and mid-range decks have actual place in the meta. Again, OTK decks already exist. I already explained that shit. Tempo decks have a problem existing, whatever he's calling mid-range, because of too many Borklers. That's it. I have melted down his problem of like, oh, just like have more combo decks. We have that, and we don't have many tempo decks. So that's it. That's all you can see. But this mana cheating thing, Plague DK, sort of like, is very interesting to me. Like, there's a lot to explore within this realm. Maybe when this thing opens up in the metagame, you have to play these decks because they offer the greatest variety of outcomes that can happen in the game. This is why I'm reinstalling Hearthstone, to see what happens. Because this question mark is actually, I can't ignore it, you know. I have to try this one. Even though I sort of quit the game, and I quit the game many times, I do return many times, but I always find like a very weird reason to return. This is absolutely weird. The fucking Triforce, the fourth triangle, has been opened, bro. Let's fucking go. Let's see what happens in the next episode.